Today we're headed to Montezuma Castle National Monument. Montezuma Castle is one of many ancient dwellings that are well preserved in Arizona, but to me is one of the most spectacular. Admission to enter to see the Montezuma Castle is $10 per adult, but that also covers the Montezuma Well and the Tusigut National Monument. $10 is a very small fee to see all three of these amazing monuments. You can also make donations to help preserve these beautiful monuments. Montezuma Castle is about an hour-and-a-half drive from Phoenix, Arizona. The castle is located just 2 miles from the I-17 at exit 289, which is a little bit north of Camp Verde. Right before we entered Camp Verde, we ran into a little bit of a delay. There was a very serious accident involving a semi-truck. Hopefully no one was hurt, but from the looks of it, it didn't look good. I think that's enough, babe. Get más, just in case we get lost.
Do you think they have one that's like dippy and native?
Dippy fresh.
That's a dippy fresh.
The next 5 minutes.
Birdies.
Why they built it up there? But I bet they were safe, but not from what you're thinking probably. They were safe from the water. This is a floodplain. So rather than build down here where they would have had to constantly repair the house, almost every archaeological site in our valley is built in the cliffs or on hilltops along the creek and the river. They were farmers, so they wanted to be near the source of water, but they didn't want to be down where the water was going to ruin the house all the time. The alcove is there. It was natural. It's a south-facing wall. As you can see, it's in the sun in the wintertime. It's 15 degrees warmer inside.
That's awesome.
In the summertime, the overhang actually extends out 15-20 feet beyond the base of the castle. It's in the shade all day. It's 15 degrees cooler in there. When it gets to be over 100 degrees, that 15 degrees is real important. Where's everybody visiting from? Wet? 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 we start complaining when it gets over 10-15% humidity down here. Now, I come from back east. I've actually lived through the 90 degrees and 90% humidity. I do know what it's like. It's not like that here. So the two lower holes to the right do not connect to the castle in any way, but they are connected use-wise. That's their storeroom. They would have stored 2 or 3 years of dried food in there against floods, fire, insects, drought. Their thinking at that time, this is, 6, 7, 800 years ago, was that the fire and the smoke killed any insects or anything that they didn't chase out. They didn't know about something called oxygen. Now remember, I said they had a fire burning and they closed the door with rock and mud. They have sealed off the oxygen. Now they probably did not make a full vacuum, but they burnt enough of the oxygen up that it led to the death of the bugs and things. But they perceived a threat, so that may have pushed them out. Now if you ask the Hopi will say, we have a migration story. This was a stop on the migration. It was never the destination. Where we are now was the destination. It was time to go.
And then up here to the right, you see that rectangular hole about halfway up? That's the top of a doorway on the top floor. So give you a feeling for the overall size. And then behind that doorway is a couple of rooms. And then to the upper right of that doorway, you can see a hole in the cliff face. You spot that hole? So about 1 o'clock off the door. Are you guys looking at the high enough door? The top one.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Oh, that little hole.
Yep, there's a little hole up to the upper right of that doorway. That's a beam socket. So over at the castle, you might have seen the beam sticking out the front. The back end, the beams are embedded in the cliff. All those beam sockets. Yep, so there's that one round one I pointed out. There's a couple more to the left that are pretty hard to see. In the center here, there's 2 really large ones. And then the more you look out here, the more you see. This picture on here tries to illustrate some of them, but there's more and more out here the more you look. So sometimes people ask me how they come up with this picture. They know where the ledges were. We see the walls on the ledges, but we also see the beam sockets. So the beam sockets indicate where the ceiling floors are. The area probably shortly after, but there were about 200 people locally here. In the valley, there was 3,600 to 7,000 or 8,000.
Oh, really? This is pretty neat, huh?
This is nice. Hey, come on.
That's how they made their masa.
There's another one over there that's broken in half.
They would grind stuff with it.
Yeah. So
Back if you don't think it out. No. Yeah. It's a no pin. It's out.
Why did I buy
Sorry
it?
to do this to you, but we're gonna leave here with you.
Hey, Dad, I'm writing real quick. I see a little beetle.
Imagine yourself visiting here over 7 centuries ago and receiving an invitation into this cliff-dwelling home. What you would have seen might well have been something like this cutaway model of Montezuma Castle. On the top floor, the elderly village lookout keeps his solitary vigil. His eyes search for approaching danger to those working the fields below the castle. It seems that over the ages, children and their actions change very little. On the 4th floor, you'll find a concerned mother scurrying to reach her adventuresome son, precariously balanced on the edge of the roof. On the 3rd floor, an aging man leads his blind wife across the balcony. You'll also meet women busily preparing food, getting supplies from storerooms, making pottery and grinding corn. Usually women ground the corn, their staple food, only in small as-needed quantities and prepared it in various ways. Weavers used the second floor loom to weave cotton breechcloths, bags, and blankets. Today, you can see examples of their varied weaving patterns in the visitor center. Villagers used the wooden ladders as stairways to carry up provisions from fields and water from Beaver Creek. On the ledge at the base of the central tower-like section, a man prepares to start a fire using a friction drill. Nearby, a young woman awaits the returning hunters who bring wild game as variety to the village diet. We encourage you to think beyond ancient stone walls and vacant rooms to the remains of a once vibrant village. Village of people who experience wants and needs, anxieties and fears, joys and sorrows, just as you and I today.
Him? Yeah. There he goes. His little feet when he swims.
And the only reason we have the well is because it encountered a blockage. That's why it's being pushed up. Otherwise, it would just continue.
He's down there for a long time.
Right here, I guess.
It's actually a basalt pillar that just literally blocks the
There he is.
From an ancient volcano, or